from beginning to end. But, they were up 20 points before the Cavs made that furious run down the stretch to come back in the game, man. And, Phoenix is I had a guy hit me up last night and go, hey, it's a work in progress. The Cavs have some chemistry. They got to get used to playing again, and Phoenix is a great team. And I'm like, let me slow your roll. Phoenix is a good team. Phoenix is an above average team, but Phoenix is not the kind of team that should be up on this Cavaliers team by 20 points. And I think I may have said this to you guys before, but I was telling the guys that I was watching the game with last night, I said, okay, I get it that to be a championship caliber team, to be a championship NBA team, you got to have chemistry, you got to play together, you got to fit together. That's what all of the cooking the soup and all of those expressions are all about. But man, from the very beginning that anybody, myself, you, these guys in the NBA stepped on a court and just picked teams 5-on-5 and went on the floor, there's still basics of playing basketball together. It amazes me. And there were times last night, especially at the depths of how bad it got, that you can have I'm just talking about basketball players. I'm not talking about teams. I'm talking about you can have Kevin Love and LeBron James and Kyrie Irving and even at time, whatever five you want to put, Sean Marion, Tristan Thompson, whatever the other two you want to put out. Point being is I'm amazed that you can have those individual players on the floor and look as bad as they do sometimes defensively. And you know what? LeBron. Now here I'm going to go to the other side because I owe him one for something I saw last night. Perfect example of when he gets in his moods during the game and stops playing defense. There was a time where LeBron was coming down. This was right around the time where the game got at its worst. And he was down on one end of the floor defensively. The guy scored on him anyway. Drove to the lane. LeBron went up. The guy still scored. The Cavs came down the floor and passed the ball down. Since they passed the ball down so fast without LeBron, LeBron stopped running down. I wish I could tell you exactly where this was, because I know some of you guys go back and look these things up on the DVR, but LeBron literally stopped running. The Cavs played their offensive set 4-on-5 and then turned the ball over, and LeBron was then left 1-on-4 on the other end. It was when he fell down, actually. If you were watching the game last night, he tried to backpedal and play defense back, fell down on the floor, and just got up with the absolute disgusted look on his face. But that 60 seconds kind of symbolized the way things have been going. They're on different pages, and LeBron gets upset with the way things are going, and then his effort wanes as well, and you end up with guys falling on the floor, tripping over their own feet, fumbling the ball out of bounds, and being down by 19 points. It's amazing. It's sad because you can say what you saw the Cavs doing. Some people threw parades, some people printed rings, some people said they'd be a playoff team and lose, whatever. Nobody, I don't think, said that they would be sub 500 at this point. I have to say the traditional, a lot of time left, and I do believe that they will be much better than this by the end of the season. I mean, you've got to think that this will come together better than it is now. What that is, I don't know. We're going to watch that. But still, so many things. Last night, it's pride, it's effort defensively. We keep saying this every day like a beaten drum, and we just keep beating it over and over again. The lack of pride and effort on the defensive side is what's killing them. I mean, last night, you can make a drinking game out of it. Not that I encourage that kind of thing, but people jokingly say you can make a drinking game out of all these different things, and people do it with different Cleveland sports. You could have done it with last night's Cavs game. Hey, every time the other team passes the ball 1-2 extra times and ends up with a wide open shot, take a drink. You'd be passed out in no time quick, man. You may be rushed to the hospital because we were calling them out. We were watching Phoenix run their offensive sets, move the ball around, and we were jokingly predicting who was going to be the open man on the shot. Here it comes. Boom. Got him. Open. Dragic with the shot. And it was working out that way. You could almost watch you guys probably are nodding your head with me right now because it was so obvious that you could see it during the game. I mean, you could tell who was about to be open for Phoenix. And it's not just Phoenix. It's every game that these guys play. When the Cavs play defense, that's when they make those runs. That's when they come back. That's when they start playing well in transition. You can tell me about LeBron with his dunks last night and he looked explosive. That's great. But as we saw last night, I told you guys before the game, you didn't need me to tell you. I shouldn't say it like that. But as we talked about yesterday, you don't people that thought, okay, LeBron's going to come back and this thing's just going to come back together, were sadly mistaken. And I felt like while he was out, a lot of the Cavs were playing that way. They were almost playing like, well, we're just gonna bide our time until we get LeBron back, and then we'll get this thing back together. That being said, looking for a silver lining, the run that they did make, they came all the way back. They had a lead. It was back and forth down the stretch. So you can bottle that up. If you want to take that last stretch, that last 8 minutes or so, that run there that got you back in the game and got you the lead, bottle that up, go watch it, put that kind of effort ahead. Again, how much of that was the other team letting off the gas? How much was the Cavs? But, that's where you start. If I'm the Cavs, that's where I start looking at things and moving forward. But, I'll tell you what, I'm not going to sit here today and say, look, LeBron shoving Dave. That is far from the biggest lesson and the biggest takeaway that I took from last night's game was that one. But, think about how many of you guys were watching the game live. You had to have seen it because it was right there on the camera. This wasn't one of those somebody caught it on their camera phone and vined it. This was right off the TV broadcast. We saw it as it happened. Think about it. Nobody went crazy. I mean, because if you were watching it live, it was clear as day what it was. Now, like I said, whether you want to say the fact that he felt comfortable enough to do that, now, of course, that speaks to the respect level. But last night, that specific thing, he was not shoving his coach out of the way disrespectfully. He really was trying to get him off the court before they got a technical, because the last thing you need when you're down 18 points is to give the team 2 free throws and the ball. Matter of fact, that happened not that long after that there, if you remember, where they did have that, and the Cavs got caught that way, and that's how that lead stretched all the way up to 19. Again, I don't think LeBron James respects David Blatt as a coach. I wouldn't dare try to sell you that, but I don't think that is what that was last night, because I saw it live as it was happening, and then I was watching it. Like I said, I was watching Twitter, and I looked at my boy, and I said, 3, 2, 1, Twitter explodes, and there it went. Soon as the vine went out there, people that weren't even watching the game were talking about the shove heard around the world, man. And again, that's why I would hope that when people are talking about it today, they at least do research on it, because I guarantee you there's a lot of cats, especially those national guys, but some of the local ones too, that only saw that clip and will have no clue what they're even talking about today. So sports radio could be a lot of fun. But that being said, LG, you heard me. I don't think that LeBron as a coach, as an NBA coach, respects David Blatt. I believe he respects him as a coach for what he's done elsewhere, but that has nothing to do with what you've done here. You know what I mean? Same thing as when Johnny Manziel comes into the NFL saying, hey, I respect him for what he did there, but not what he hasn't done anything here. So, same thing. Let's go to the phones real quick before I hit it. We've got to get a break coming in. I've got John McMullen. We're going to keep it going. Tomorrow, Eddie Jansen from More Than a Fan Cleveland's going to join us, and we're going to talk some more about this, get his thoughts on it, as they've got the back-to-back with L.A. coming up for the continuation of this trip. So we'll talk some more about that. There you go, Charles. In good news, yes, the Buckeyes smashed the Wolverines last night. And, as I said to start this, don't forget, still undisputed national champions, your Ohio State Buckeyes. Caller, I've got 2 minutes for a call here. Kick us off on the Sports Fix.
J-Rock, I'll talk as fast as I can.
What's happening?
You know what? I very rarely disagree with you, but with that being said, can you imagine somebody pushing Pat Riley or Phil Jackson or any respected coach the way, and I saw the same thing that you did. He was basically telling him, sit your ass on the bench, I'll take care of it, I'll handle it. How dare, can you imagine Pat Riley or Phil Jackson standing for such a blatant act of showmanship or what have you? That right there indicated to me, there was never a question in my mind, but that right there indicates to me who the real coach is. Coach Blatt calls plays. They run up. They set up the offense. They maybe think about the plays that he calls and says, "Screw it, we're going to freelance." That's just my thoughts. What do you say?
Brother, I'm basically with you. I mean, hang on a second. That's kind of what I said. I mean, I'm saying that specific incident last night, I understood what the emphasis was behind it. But the fact is, the respect level for doing it is different. You know what I mean? But that being said, Charles, good point in the chat room. I'm not going to say that
Charles Vick.
I can't see an incident where, say, you got Michael Jordan and Phil Jackson. Now I can see him walking him to the sidelines, but a dismissive push, I'm going to say that shows the respect level. And I do agree with you there. I don't think he was intentionally disrespecting his coach last night, but it speaks to, and I said, I think if you were getting the truth out of LeBron, he would say, sure, I respect what he did in his career, but I don't respect him as my coach here because he's been in the NBA for a cup of coffee. And until the Cavs change that, which I don't think they will, but until they do, you'll never get the success you want. You cannot same thing, like I said, the day Mike Brown looked at a camera and said, I'm just lucky that LeBron James allows me to be his coach, that's when you're done for it. Now, it's true. Don't get me wrong. Phil Jackson is lucky that Michael Jordan was a coachable player that allowed him to be the boss. But allowing him to be the boss doesn't just mean you don't cut his legs off in front of other people. It also means you actually set the example and you allow him to appear to be in charge to everyone else. See, that's the part of the ego, and I think that's where LeBron doesn't back down sometimes publicly because he has to maintain, a certain image. And I will say that's the difference is Michael Jordan didn't just allow himself to be coached, but even if he didn't believe a word of what Phil Jackson said,
he would never show him up.
Right. Never, ever, ever, because he knows if he does it, then Scotty was going to do it, Horace Grant was going to do it, BJ was going to do it, and the team was never going to win. And it was always about more than Michael Jordan or Phil Jackson or anybody else. And that's the difference in the dynamic there. I agree with Bruce in the chat room. Hey, I know y'all don't like Mike Brown, but at least he can coach some defense.
How many coaches of the Cavaliers now paying?
Bro, I think we're paying 4 or 5. We're paying Byron Scott right now. We may not be paying Byron.
We're paying Brown. We're paying Fratello.
We may not be paying Brown Scott because he got another job. That may be that may be how that works. That may cut out what we owe him. When a guy gets another job, sometimes you don't have to keep paying him. But we're definitely paying Mike Brown for 4 more years. We're still paying Lenny Wilkins some money, man.
We're paying Wilkins. We're paying Fratello. We're paying. I think we're still paying
Sean Kemp. I don't know. No, but seriously, we do have a bunch of guys that we're still paying not to coach. I do get your point. And you know what? If we're going to pay Mike Brown, why not see if he – I know you can't do it. I'm joking, but I was telling my buddy last night, paying him, let him come in and coach the defense. See if he wants to be the assistant head coach. We've already got 1. Why not have 2? Then we'll have 4 head coaches. We'll have LeBron, Tyronn Lue, Mike Brown, and David Blatt. They could be like the panel of coaches, the group of sages that sit down and decide everybody's fate.
when Gilbert hired this Blatt, there was no LeBron James. There was no Kevin Love.
It was different. You're right.
Blatt was brought in to be a teacher to the younger players. Never in his wildest dreams did he fathom, my God, I got 2 superstars.
And you know what? Let me jump in real quick because that is a really good point. I think we've made that before here. That is such a true point. I do believe that had the Cavs truly believed that LeBron was going to sign here and that things were going to go that way, yeah, they were hopeful. But I don't think they ever truly – because you can't allow yourself to build on a fantasy. And so I do think the reason that they pulled the trigger on Blatt is because they had to, because he was going to take a job with Golden State. So they had to go quickly with him. But I agree with you. And I think that's another place where you got to be fair to David Blatt is this is not – now you would think it gets better. It gets better because you get LeBron, you get Love, you get these extra players. But he was brought, as you said, to be an educational coach, to try to bring it together, that group of younger players and core pieces. And then I do believe they'd have went a different route from the get-go had LeBron already been the coach. But you know what? You can't really say that because the same thing happened in Miami. And I hate going back to Miami because I said it before we did it. To me, Bosh, Wade, and James is a much better grouping in their prime than Love, Kyrie, and LeBron is in this one. But Eric Spoelstra was a lot like David Blatt. He was an unheralded guy. He was a young, unproven guy, and LeBron didn't have any respect for that cat either. But he found a way to get it.
He had Pat Riley. As a mentor.
Yes, that's not just as a mentor, but Pat Riley said, "Hey,